Many thanks for staying tuned on ADBN television, watching live from Abuja studio, the Market Report. Already have been seated with me here, Professor Ken Ife, lead consultant at ECOWAS, one of Nigeria's finest and brilliant economists of many periods that most of us economists also rely on him to get some insight on some issues that is happening both in Nigeria and globally. Prof, you are highly welcome, sir.
Oh, thank you for having me.
All right. Now, Prof, first thing, explosion in Rivers State. Pipeline blown up, and we are getting a report that to fix those pipelines it will cost NNPC 3.5 million naira each for this pipeline to be fixed back. What's the reaction to that?
That's nothing compared to loss of human lives. And if you are going to have loss of human lives, it will not be one person. It could be tens of people that will die. So that money is nothing. But I think people need to be reasonable in their expectation. First, you have the Constitution did not anticipate that there could be a major conflict between two arms of government, out of the three arms of government, to the point that it threatens a complete breakdown. So the Constitution did not expect that. So it didn't provision for a state of emergency in the circumstance that there's a political conflict that derails one or two of the organizations. The Constitution didn't anticipate that. That's number one. And where Constitution doesn't make provision, then we will rely on Senate to invoke doctrine of necessity. And which was what David Mark did during the death of the Yaradua, to be able to get over the issue with Jonathan. So I think this is the point now where they should do that. And they were privy to the meeting of yesterday. Both houses, their leadership were there, so they already are in the know. The second point is that the president did not remove the governor. He didn't remove the governor. He just suspended the governor. And not just the governor, he also suspended the leadership of the House of Assembly. So it acted on both. So there is parity in that treatment. And he didn't remove them. He suspended so that there can be peace. Because all the signals of a breakdown were there, and they has actually actualized by beginning with destruction of materials. Are you going to wait until 100 people die before he does something? And the third thing is that whatever the president did had the impetus of the Supreme Court judgment. The Supreme Court said that one arm of government has made it difficult for the other one to work together with it, so both of them, and there's no government in the states. He says there's no government. And if there's no government, according to the dictate of the Supreme Court, and they do not have violence precipitating, what the hell are you saying? The president has to take action. So, to sum it up, the governor was not removed, he was suspended, and so was also the House suspended. Two, he doesn't need to meet the requirement of the state of emergency as already stipulated in the because this one is a politically motivated state of emergency that led to the collapse of government. And that's confirmed by the Supreme Court. So he has it's his job to do something. So he hasn't violated the Constitution. All he needs is now Senate, come on, you invoke your doctrine of necessity to move the country forward. And that's just how I see that.
Exactly. And you know why I brought this one to ask for the reaction is on the basis that, Rivers State is where we have the bulk of our oil rigs. And that's where the bulk of our revenue also comes from. So that's why when NNPC came up and said they will spend $3.5 million to repair those bomb pipeline, it became a concern for us, particularly for those of us that are so interested in how to market Nigerian economy and bring in investors. But let's now go to the business of the day, Prof. Today, inflation is dropping. Quite interesting. Landing cost of imported PM is also dropping. Very cheering news for Nigerians who normally go to buy fuel. But marketers are not angry. But let's take the one of inflation first. A drop in inflation from 24 to 23. What's your reaction on that?
I think the two are connected.
Exactly. That's why we bring the two.
First of all, there's no such thing as drop in inflation because inflation is still high.
Exactly.
What has dropped is the rate of inflation. That is the rate at which it was rising. It still rose by 23%, but it didn't rise with a rate higher. It wasn't compared to the rate of the rise last month. It is lower, but it's still big inflation to all standards. Now, when you look at all the indices of inflation, And look at, because they've now reclassified them to about 11 or 12. You have urban index, rural index, headline food inflation, down to energy, and all of them showed a rise of over 1%, some as much as 2%. But the only one that was negative is energy. And it was because of PMS, what's going on, the war going on in PMS. So that is the only one that is minus 0.99%. So the oxygen in the rise that was taken out by the PMS price and the gasoline price that are coming down. So you have to say thanks to the dynamics of competition in the energy space. That's what we have to be grateful to. And we have to say, let there be more competition. Let the prices come down more. No victimization. Leave Dangote alone. Modular refineries, NNPC, you've got 2 refineries working, or you put it into action, produce more fuel, so that the prices can come down. Oil marketers who are buying fuel, you can't be importing fuel when there's no surplus that has been, no deficit that has been declared by the midstream and downstream authority. It hasn't declared any. And so normally it should regularly be declaring the capacities, the refining capacities of the country to the upstream commission. And then the upstream commission will publish those statistics and then allocate to the oil lessees what they can import after satisfying local demand. That's the job. So to come and leave that job that you have to do and issue license to whoever is importing it, NNPC say it wasn't them that is importing, whoever it is that is importing it, 2 things. 1, you've violated the law that says that you must do ABC. 2, if they do land onshore, it doesn't matter what certificate they've issued show to you, you have to carry out a test, at least with the others there, so that you can determine whether the products meet the standard. We already have a ECOWAS standard that says it shouldn't be more than 50 ppm sulfur content, and go and look at what they're bringing in. And then there are other parameters like pour point, cloud point, flash point, specific gravity, density, sulfur content, octane number. There are many of those, about 12 of them, that each of them have standard, their limits. So where are those results? I mean, we have to do this. And then NNPC doesn't have internationally recognized standard laboratory, neither does NUPRM have, then the Dangote does have. He has them. So all of you should march down there and watch the test being carried out, so that if the shipment doesn't conform, they should take it back. That is as simple as that. So what 2 things that are happening? We are now becoming hostage to, 1, dumping of substandard petroleum products, because you can't verify the quality. Secondly, we are hostage to predatory pricing. Predatory pricing of products that don't even, I mean, if you prepare this, if this is distilled in Belgium, it has to meet EU standard for it to be used in Belgium. If it's substandard, it has to be exported out somewhere. And the same happens to many of the countries where they are being refined. They don't even meet their requirements, so they're going to come out. And you are dumping substandard products, and the pricing becomes predatory, because they are going to push it below the cost price to frustrate the local refiners. And that is what the game is. And we can't have this.
Exactly. Now, talking about we can't have this, let's quickly take a look at the inflation issues once again. A lot of people have argued that the inflation figure doesn't really reflect what is really happening in the market. But the question I have is that, has government done enough? In your own estimation and assessment of what the current government is doing to bring down inflation, have they done enough to the point that we are now seeing the result of what they are doing in the reflection of the rate that has dropped?
Now, 2 things really. 1 is that the inflation figures that we know are over bloated. And so there is now a correction by rebasing. And the rebasing has actually created far more divisions that are far more accurate in reflecting the indices than we have inherited. So going forward, you could see how that is tempering the statistics. Secondly, part of the things happening to the statistics is that we have a more stable macroeconomic environment. Now the dollar indices are stabilizing. Still high at 1,500 and plus, but it's still stable. It used to be 2,000, 1,800, but it come down, and this is not what it is that matters, but it is stability in the price and the convergence of the rates. Because when you have convergence, then those who are dollarizing our economy, fact is shared today, tomorrow is all gone into dollar.
Exactly.
Although the governors use some of that dollar to pay for the contractors working, foreign contractors working in the economy, so we know that. But there are some that are now there to speculate on dollar. On dollar rates. Exactly. And that is dollarization. So that was why I was critical of the report of the Chatham House that was saying that this money was being invested abroad. I said they're not investing anything abroad. The money is here. Yeah. They are using that to speculate on dollar price, and then they're trading with it. So that is that's what that stability brings. And then for other reasons, because there has been so much action from central bank, so many monetary measures in terms of sucking out liquidity in the system, and then in making sure that there's a positive real interest rate, because that's why they were hiking the MPR rates, so that you can, now that the inflation rate has come now below the MPR rate, it's less likely they will hike, but they will maintain. They will maintain and wait for 2 months and see whether the trend will continue, and then they may begin to loosen. So that is some of the things that are going on. Then you have also some portfolio investment is also coming in, because imagine if you get money, take a loan abroad at 4% or 5%, and then you can get 22% here or 18%. So as long as the rates are maintained, when it matures, you can buy your money back. So that is it. So they will be coming. They will be coming if other things don't happen. Of course, insecurity is just one of the things that could happen. So you've got all that situation playing out, and then you have a real drop in the heat, and which is the energy. The energy one that is happening is the petrol and gas. But the electricity is not coming down anytime soon. So that is because you know that that energy component affects transportation costs.
Exactly.
And transportation costs underlines food production. Food, so because you got to transport the food. And that's what we experienced. But much last December, it didn't happen. Normally, we have our peak in inflation in December. But for good reason, the Dangote group stopped that. They decided that they're going to take out the equalization, brought down the fuel price, and then equalized it for it to go around the whole country at the same price, costing them over 10 billion. And then now they also reduced it, and now again they reduced it 3 times. Let that music play. People want cheaper fuel, for goodness sake.
Are you talking about cheaper fuel?
But not adulterated fuel. We don't want adulterated fuel.
Talking about cheaper fuel, but some people are angry. For instance, Ipman and their colleagues are cried out that they are losing 2.5 billion naira daily.
They can lose 10 billion daily. Look, my answer to that is, President Tinubu, please, I give everybody license to go and do modular refinery. For goodness sake. We had this in cement. Give them license, let them go and invest money. We have over 100 marginal oil field. And marginal oil field means less than 50 million barrels. If you are doing 20,000 barrels a day for 25 years, you will still be drilling. So if it finishes, you connect to the next one. So the problem, let them have it. It costs them only $70 million to have 20,000 barrels a day. They will recover their money in 3-4 years. So what is the problem? Then use your tank, all those your tank farms, use them. Use them to store your produce and then export them abroad. You are not going to lose money. Use them; they will be useful. But don't use it to bring in adulterated product and destroy our health, and then our vehicles and our generators. Let them go and do the thing and then export them from there to all the African countries.
Now talking about exporting and ensuring that these people also participate in the building of a local refinery, particularly modular refinery. But the question that comes to mind in the last 2 weeks is this: is it true that we are having pump price war, PMS pump price war in Nigeria? You rightly pointed out, Dangote have reduced his price 3 times. The current price is now 815 naira. NNPC
it will go down to 700 no, it will. Let me tell you, my brother. Look, listen. The price that they were crying about, the oil marketers, is they are looking at premium price for premium product. And so that's what they're flashing on our face. But we're not getting premium product. So if you think it is premium PMS, then go and bring the test results. So you cannot buy cheap adulterated fuel which may be given to you at 650 naira today. No, it doesn't. And then you want to claim the premium price for premium product. That is the point. And if you think it is, then submit it to the test. That's the problem. So as we're beginning to unearth this, they're beginning to see that, don't play out to the guy. Show us what you have, and then don't poison our atmosphere, don't kill our lungs, and don't destroy our investment. That's the question.
And another thing I need to quickly bring to your attention is one of the news that I read out talk about IPMAN, Independent Petroleum Marketers, talking about rejecting a proposal. There was a proposal from Petroleum Owners Association of Nigeria who said that we should be reviewing the price every six months. A proposal was thrown at IPMAN, and IPMAN said no, they are not going to follow that proposal because it's against the PIA. What do you have to say about that proposal, that we should be reviewing the price every 6 months instead of just Dangote coming and throwing price on the market? Meanwhile, we should have something that can control the price. What do you have to say about that?
Look, the same PIA says that is you buy and sell on is a free market.
Exactly.
Willing buyer, willing seller basis. Is it going to be willing buyer today and tomorrow is no longer willing buyer? You argue you sort out your price on a day-to-day basis. Because don't forget, the price benchmark you are using for your local sale is still international and it's changing every minute. So what are you talking about? The price of the PMA is not regulated. It is the gas that is regulated, that you can be saying about fixing price or not fixing price, looking at it every 6 months. And what are you looking at? So, that doesn't hold water. To be honest with you, if they go and get their own refineries, refineries, and they're all on the same page, then let them have a meeting and decide that they'll be reviewing their price every 6 months. Not when monkey is walking, and baboon is chopping.
Very serious.
It is and then you make they have the argument of the silly argument about monopoly. What monopoly? Nobody thought about monopoly. All the pre-COVID years when NNPC was ruling the world and everything, and post-COVID when NNPC was still controlling the crude and controlling the import, nobody talked about monopoly. And then all the refineries, over 10 billion spent on referring dollars, and then they never deployed anything. But now Dangote came online, invested 20 billion. Suddenly 2 refineries are now ready to produce, and then you still keep having this influx. It doesn't make sense. I'm telling you. And then you think that the way you manage competition between the people that have invested their money in creating productive capacity in the country to generate products that will save the country in revenue in dollars is for you to come and import them and consume the dollar, and then the central bank, starts struggling to maintain the price, because once you suck out dollar from the economy, central bank will still, however you take that dollar, will still defend naira by bringing down our foreign reserve. And that's what is going on the reserves. Now, so you're not comparing like to like. If everybody wants to become importer of, if everybody wants to import fuel, they don't have enough money to import more fuel than the Dangote, because Dangote will use the equivalent of $20 billion to import fuel. So, it doesn't make sense. And secondly, this guy doesn't even need Nigerian petroleum products. For Nigeria, because he's an unfree trade zone. He's geared to produce for export. He's got African countries lining up. He's supplying to the best cream, dollar cream in the world, Saudi Aramco, Shell, all that thing. But he's a Nigerian. The same reason that brought me down to this country after 42 years in the UK is because I'm a Nigerian and I have to help our own country. So he can't stay there and be a multi-billionaire and his people are suffering. That's why he wants to deal with this.
And now talking about Dangote and his expository, businesses in the oil and gas sector. Last week, I know you followed the story. I almost wanted to ask this question first, but let me start with. Last week, there was a challenge around this naira for crude experiment that federal government started with him, and we saw the double dealing of NNPC. But this will take me back to the issue of the crude oil swap issue. What really happened during NNPC crude oil swap? Can you help us out on that?
See, and it is absolutely double standard because NNPC had monopoly of import of PMS. And then every month from 2020, it was sending $3 billion every month to CBN. But when they started doing it, it went for crude swap, pushing out all crude, and then in return was receiving PMS. Where you know that PMS is only one out of many things produced from distilling the distillates. You have kerosene, you have jet fuel, you have diesel, you have lighter ones like butane, you have even benzene, then you have LPG, you have PMS, then you come to heavy products, distillates, you have oil, lubricating oil, you have coal, black carbon black, you have tar, all that. The only thing that is taken back is PMS. And then it had the temerity to turn to federal government to say, oh, we've done our arithmetic, you are owing me. And they no longer call it subsidy, they call it under recovery. And government had to go and borrow over $4 billion every year to pay for this so-called under recovery. So when Tinubu came in and stopped that, immediately that amount, that quantum of $4-5 billion now became our foreign
additional
it became our balance of payment. Surplus. So that was why again I attacked this Chatham House that was saying that the balance of payment was caused by the the devaluation. I said nonsense. That is a direct impact of that subsidy removal. And then of course you saw more money, double revenue every year, every month being shared to governors. So that is that. And then to now come back and tell us now that we now have the full benefit of the full story. Now David is doing it now. You now see that it's not just the PMS he's producing.
Exactly.
He's producing urea. He's producing liquid petroleum. The diesel. He's also exporting kerosene. He's exporting jet fuel. Name it. And now he's turning back to start doing carbon black, and he's going to produce all of those other heavier products. What these oil marketers should be doing is to come and if you don't want to do if you don't want the refining capacity to diesel to PMS, you can come to Dangote. He will give you naphtha, and then you can go and refine naphtha. It reduces the investment that you need to make. There are things you can collaborate, and you don't have to be full PMS that you are selling. You have enough money to enter into their supply chain, and you can produce. There are hundreds and hundreds of products that this guy can do contract with you, and he will supply you and he will make it. So let them come into the midstream and downstream products, and then we'll have growth. You see, I still make bold to say, if our country is genuine, we can wrap around that Dangote refinery $100 billion ecosystem. We can have 5,000 companies producing all around this. That you can explode their company. So it's an investment of $20 billion, but who can develop $100 billion ecosystem, refining ecosystem on midstream and downstream, producing everything you can think of, all kinds of plastics, because they produce polypropylene.
Just last week, their propylene product came out.
Yeah, but they have propylene, and they have other ones, propylene and ethylene monomer to polyethylene, and then you can have also organic plastics, where you are reacting metals with plastics. This infinite range of products that could be produced. So these people can be in any of this chain producing. Look at tires. Tires are made from there. Look at the asphalts. It's unbelievable.
Very interesting, very insightful from you, Prof. And I normally get excited when we get to this deep side of our analysis, particularly when you begin to break down some of these issues. But let's go back to inflation again. Many Nigerians will be asking the question, what else can the government do, particularly food inflation that NBS has put out, even though the rate is quite a little bit low from what we saw in last year, but food inflation is still biting very hard. So what else can government do about food inflation in Nigeria?
Well, I think we have to continue to, because the transportation cost is a very important component of this, and we'll continue to pray that the competition will continue to bring down that element. But you also have the need for us to increase investment in mechanization. And the government is doing that. I went with the Minister for Agriculture to go and see Gwagwarada, where 2,000 tractors have been received.
Exactly.
So, and I know that more will be coming. And some other states are doing the same thing, you know. So that is very important. And then also, we have a lot on seed technology and on seed multiplication technology. So we're all on there, but it needs more investment. Then climate, there's not much you can do about the climate because it is on top of us. The floods are coming, and then you have all the adverse weather conditions, but of course you have the insecurity. The insecurity is very pervasive. But we are working around this, wrapping around our local in-growers and out-growers, how they can do cassava things in bags and all kinds of. There are different ways we are inventing for people to focus on growing more from within the small space.
That the garden farming that
we have some of that. Some of that are coming in on stream. But I have to say to you this: we are still surrounded by 100 million francophone citizens in Cameroon, in Niger, in Chad, in in Benin and Burkina Faso, and they are still dependent on a lot of our, especially in the 7 frontier states. And look at what has happened in Niger Republic.
Exactly.
Their refinery is not producing enough. They can't even meet 40% of their needs. They were depending on fuel moving across our border. And now suddenly there's chaos there because there's a bit of restriction on our export of subsidized fuel. So you can see that. Talk about food. And what has fueled the food crisis is because of the devaluation. Because we experienced 300% devaluation from under 500 naira to $1 to 1,500. It's over 300%. So what it means is that when we used to go around to ECOWAS, we do. 1 naira was buying 3 francs CFA. Now it's not even buying 1 franc CFA. It's buying 0.7. So it's more like 80% devaluation, something like that. So when you have that, your food is very cheap to them. They're buying it. And the money, the value of their CFA is not because it is backed by their reserves. No, it's because France pegged their CFA to euro. And then they control 80% of their reserves. And is burning their reserves to maintain that artificially high value of euro. Whereas that is the opposite in our country. So if they have only 20% of their reserve, if they want to borrow money, they go and borrow their own money at commercial rates. So the jury is still out on all the things that need to be done.
For what a very insightful discussion. I do know that I didn't check time, but right now we have less than 2 minutes. But very insightful discussion from you, and I'm always pleased when I have you on the show because you break down some of this issue in a way that is simplify and understanding for our viewers as well as for me, the host of the program. But before I let you go, Prof, there's a germane issue about central bank policy in recent time. I know you are would I say a very strong person in CBN that understand their policy very well. But there's a germane issue that many people are not comfortable with, particularly with the way CBN normally support Naira. You remember there was a particular analyst that came out and said CBN spent over $800 million to support Naira in some recent time. He said it in late February. And many people came out and said, what else will CBN do to help Naira to stabilize if it's not to ensure that to stabilize and ensure that Naira is strengthened? But people are confused about what CBN actually used that money for. So can you help us break it down? When we say CBN spent $100 billion to support Naira, what does it really entail? Because Nigerians were asking questions at that point in time when that particular popular analyst or popular economist came out with that assertion.
My question to you is that what is the foreign reserve supposed to do? What is it supposed to do? It's supposed to do 2 things. One, it's supposed to give us comfort, not us, but foreign investors and foreign trade partners, to give them the comfort that we have enough reserves to support trade. So at least for the next 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, in the Nigerian case, we actually have enough reserves to support us for 1 year. The requirement is 3 months. Nigeria has enough to support our trade for 1 year. The second point, of course, is that you have a national currency. And our national currency is not dollar. It is Naira. And we have to defend the value of that Naira using our reserves. That's what the reserve does, to defend the value of that money. Obviously, the economists are saying, okay, Why don't you allow the naira to float and float to high heavens?
That would be serious.
You know, it's like a kite. When you put a kite and then you keep releasing the rope, and suddenly the kite is gone. You can't see where it is. So you go as far as you can go there. We've tried it now. You released it just like that. Before you know it, it had jumped from 500 to 1,800. So there is always going to be a measure of managed float. Anywhere in the world, you still have a measure of managed float. America in 2008, when they had their quantitative easing, what they did was they started printing dollar. Because they led us into a crisis where the property
mortgage system.
Yeah, the mortgage subprime crisis, and then banks were closing down, banks were being hit. They had to now start printing dollar, quantitative easing, and then plunged everybody into this high inflation. So, and then we had our own opposite, which is where we printed 33 trillion.
For means and ways.
Ways and means. You know, so the fact of the matter is that is what that money is there for. But you try to reduce what causes the intervention. And the thing that causes intervention is speculating on our foreign exchange, dollarization, the economy, trying to use dollar to do things, and then use dollar as a reserve, as a store of value, and then use it to trade and then speculate. That's what is causing the tension. You know, and then people hoarding the dollar somewhere. Remember when the bank had to put a net open position of the central banks, central bank put net open position of commercial bank to 20%. So limiting what they can hold. Anything above 20% they had to sell. So there were so many measures from central bank.
I think those measures have really worked. Particularly the one that I've noticed that really worked for us is the one that the multiple exchange rate by CBN closed them down. And here we are. The gap between the official and the parallel.
Sometimes the official is even higher than sometimes it's lower. But it is no longer, if you average it comes to zero.
Exactly.
So that money that I'm banking, those dollars, they can't make money with those dollars.
Prof, I really want to thank you so much
for
coming on the show. It's pleasant to always have you on the show like this, and you make sure that you bring this teaching, this topic, to the barest understanding of every viewers and my humble self as the host. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having me.
In a short while, I will still call on you. The CBN will still be meeting in a short distance from now. Another germane economic issue will be rising.
Absolutely.
We have to look at it. Particularly,
it's a work in progress.
Exactly, sir. So I've been speaking with Professor Ken Ife, ECOWAS lead consultant and Nigerian economist. I've been helping us understand the appraising of a drop rate in inflation, as well as the drop rate in the landing cost of PMS in Nigeria. This is the size of our show today. We'll come your way next time. Enjoy the rest of your day.